As exovol attained its optimal flight speed and everything stabilized, Mika stood up from the captain's chair, turning back around to face their new guests. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the first departure for exovol, but now that that's all done and settled, I'd like to have a more in-depth and private conversation with you. Oh, most assuredly, the ambassador replied. I would love to do so as well. Get to know you a bit. I'm glad to hear it, Mika replied. If you'll come along with me to the captain's work office. It's located here, she said, gesturing to a door that was attached to the primary bridge, and began walking that direction. The ambassador, his assistant, and Solstice followed along without question as the electronic doors opened wide and they entered, the doors closing behind them. They found themselves in a fairly well put together office, complete with a desk and chair, somewhat of a meeting table with many chairs around it. Mika went to the meeting table, taking one of the seats at the far end of the table and gesturing for her guests to join her. Once again, they did so without question, taking their seats at the table. Well, as far as your stay here on exovol, I have, of course, allotted all of you your own individual rooms. I understand that Solstice is in charge of your security. However, if you wish, I can allot some crew members to aid in securing you, if it would make you feel more comfortable. No, do not bother with such a thing, the ambassador replied. I'm sure that your crew members are quite busy all on their own. There's no need to waste manpower protecting me. Solstice is more than equipped enough to do so. I trust him implicitly. I assume that his room is located next to mine, correct? Well, yes, that was a good assertion. It would only be reasonable to have your primary caretaker be located right next to you. So yes, that is how I set the room arrangements. Unfortunately, I did not know that you were bringing an assistant, so I will have to ask another of my crew members to bunk up whilst we prepare another room for them, and you can have their room in the meantime. Thank you. Your graciousness is most welcome. You're being very helpful in allotting for my presence, despite the fact that I'm sure it must be an inconvenience, Vima responded, bowing her head somewhat. No, I knew this whole mission would probably be quite dangerous. Simply shifting a few rooms around is nothing in comparison to that. But truthfully, what I really want to discuss is more about the mission itself. Specifically, you, Envoy. I do understand that envoys do have a great deal of importance in society, especially during times of war and conflict. But, to my recollection, I've never heard of any military ever putting as much effort into eliminating an envoy as the amount that Solstice informed me that we might be coming across. Surely they've been sought after, assassinated, and things of that nature. There is danger in it. But the level of force doesn't seem to match. So I was wondering if it was possible if you might inform me. Do you have some form of importance that I'm unaware of? I hardly think that matters, Solstice said, sounding angry. This was not part of our agreement. We are not required to give you any information beyond what has already been discussed. Now, Solstice, there's no need to be so harsh. It is only natural that she is curious, and her assertion is quite apt. The amount of effort and the seeming result of those efforts don't line up. It's only natural that she would find it suspicious. We have asked her to undertake a great deal of danger, and though we are paying her, it is not outside of reason to expect her to want some level of access to information. You mustn't be so guarded, especially with those that we work with. Establishing good relations between trusted individuals can be a very important thing. I know you're concerned about security, and that is your job, but establishing good relationships, trustworthy allies, that's my specialty. And sometimes the first step requires you to do some trusting yourself, Solstice. To be the first to extend an olive branch, so to speak, the envoy said, as he turned away from Solstice, beginning to look towards Mika intently. Well, I cannot give you all of the details. You do understand that the work I do is quite important to my race. My people rely on it. And being able to keep specific secrets is simply part of my job. So unfortunately, some information will have to remain classified. There are things that I simply cannot tell you. However, I can tell you this. There are countless envoys on my world. 23 to be exact. They all negotiate countless things across many different societies and cultures. However, some of the response that you're calling into question at the moment is due to my specific speciality, and the fact that I am the only envoy that seems to press the matter. Since the conflict with the Rota began, I have been basically the only envoy who has been pressing for a cease to the war. All of the other envoys simply ferry about currying favor between races, nations, and worlds for materials, assistance, monetary assets, diplomatic negotiations of acceptable war arrangements. But I am the only one who is actually trying to attain peace. I want the war between the Kothians and the Rota to meet its end. This war has been going on for years. The casualties and bloodshed continue to stack on both sides. And despite this, neither side seems to have any intentions of giving in. I alone have met several ambassadors from Rota on multiple occasions, trying to curry peace between our races. And despite my continued efforts, it all seems to be in vain. There are hardcore radicals on both sides that simply refuse to give up fighting in favor of peace, each viewing the other side as weak or lesser, or even worse, somehow a danger to existence itself, an epitome of evil. Ridiculous notions. Races are simply that, races. We have different cultures and beliefs, but this does not make us evil. Each side refuses to see the other as they truly are, and the free radicals are the ones in power, the ones holding the majority of sway in both worlds. So, my diplomatic missions of peace have not been seen as favorable. Thus, I have become a target, a symbol of the idea that they want to put into the grave. It's not so much me that they want to kill, it is the idea that I represent. They wish to kill the idea of peace, and in killing me, they wish to show that it is impossible, and so great effort is being put into doing so. If they are able to accomplish their goals, then it is highly likely that there will never be peace. That this war will end in only one fashion: complete and utter destruction of either our world or that of the Rota. A massacre on a global scale. An atrocity of complete and utter devastation. This is what I am trying to avoid, and therein the very reason that they wish to destroy me. So, I hope that this information can help you understand. Yes, I think I get it, Mika replied. As unfortunate as it is, not all people are born level-headed. People tend to be very confrontational when it comes to ideas, especially ones that contradict their own. Often at times, the more violent elements seek only destruction for that which is different. Kill an idea by killing a man, Mika said, as she looked down at the table in front of her.